That's a buzzkill right there. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The chair detects a quorum, so we'll call the meeting of the Regional Council Body of the Greater Nashville Regional Council to order. It is Wednesday, February the 18th, 2026. The first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes. They were sent out ahead of time. I'll entertain a motion when you're ready.
Approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor Moore. Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Any corrections, additions, or deletions to those minutes? Hearing none, are you ready to vote? All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please say aye. Any opposed, say no. Anybody wish to abstain? The minutes are adopted. Next item is opportunity for public comment. Any member of the public wish to address the board? All right, we have two items under information today that we want to hear from Sarah Fowler and Rebecca Nofi. Ms. Fowler is our Director of Aging and Disability Services. So you are right behind me. I thought I saw you. You're recognized.
Good morning. I am Sarah Fowler. I'm the Director of Aging and Disability Services here at GNRC. So I hope you're excited to talk about aging. I know I am if it's about talking about aging for other people and not myself, right? But the good thing is that we all are aging, and that is a good thing, a positive thing. So we are coming into our area plan season. So I wanted to kind of explain why we do an area plan and the importance of it, and then tell you about some of the things we've done and are planning to do. So our funding comes through the Older Americans Act, which is administered through on the federal level from the Administration for Community Living, or ACL and our state department, which is the Tennessee Department of Disability and Aging, have designated GNRC as the area agency on aging and disability in our area. So Tennessee has 9 AAAs, we call them AAADs, across the state. You'll find AAAs across the country, but in Tennessee, we added the D for disability. That is because our state puts in so much funding for individuals 18 and up who have a physical disability. So Tennessee's a little bit different. So the Older Americans Act was the first federal funding that was aimed to provide funding and services for older adults. The purpose is so that older Americans can live at home and in the community with dignity and independence for as long as possible. And I think that's a purpose we all can get behind. I think that's something we all want, a goal we all want for ourselves and for other people. The great thing about this funding, the Older Americans Act, is they want it to go through our state unit on aging and then down to our local AAADs. That means the funding can be used on the local level where it's more effective. So what might be needed in Memphis might not be needed in Martin, would be needed in Nashville. Every area is different and has different needs. And that way we can build a local network of providers. So through the Older Americans Act, we have some main buckets of funding. And so we have to do our framework of services through these buckets. The main one where we get most of our funding is the supportive services. So we're looking at home and community-based services, information and assistance, transportation, legal services, those types of things. Nutrition is another huge bucket, and that's where we have funding for home delivered meals and our congregate meal funding, because we know that nutrition can be medicine for our body. The other huge bucket is our family caregiver support program, and that's to provide support for caregivers. The other 2 buckets are disease prevention. So we want to look at ways to promote healthy aging, because there's the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's so true. If we can prevent disease or prevent when people get a diagnosis, if we can teach them how to manage it, they can have a healthier life longer. Or if we can teach them how to prevent falls, then we don't have to deal with the rehabilitation and all the hardship that comes after a fall. And then the last bucket is ombudsman and elder abuse. And while I really hate that we have to have funding for those purposes, it's so necessary. So that is for advocacy for older adults in nursing homes, the ombudsman, and in assisted living. And then elder abuse prevention is because any vulnerable person, whether it's children or older adults, we know that at some point, there's going to be abuse, neglect, exploitation. So while I don't like that we have to have this bucket of funding, it's so important to have it. So our state agency, which is the Tennessee Department of Disability and Aging, has to do a state plan to show how they are working across the state, how they are using the funding and working with the 9 AAADs across the state to enact the funding. So their plan is based on the 9 AAADs across the state's plan and incorporates it, and we work in concert with them. So our role through the area plan is to talk about how we're going to work with our priority population. And what is mandated is that we work with those with the greatest social and economic need. Economic need is easy to define, right? It's low income. But when we're looking at the greatest social need, we're looking at those that are isolated, whether it's geographical, rural, whether it's because they have a mental or physical disability and therefore they can't access their community as well. Whether they have social barriers like language barriers, things like that. So we have to look at the population that's in our area and what those needs are and how we can identify them and reach those individuals. And through being a AAAD and part of the plan, we have to reprocure all of our services. So for the last 4 years, we've worked with a network of providers, senior centers, in-home service agencies, transportation providers, meal providers, and we have to go through that all again. So we have to have everybody reapply and reevaluate so that we can change if needed or utilize our funding more appropriately. So one of the things I love to talk about is our highlights. Because sometimes I get so lost in, we got to do better, we got to do more, we got to improve, we got to move. It is also good to step back and to see what we have done. And so I'm really proud of our aging staff, and I want to kind of take a moment to talk about some of the highlights and what that actually means to the people that we serve. So up on the screen, you'll see some of the buckets, but we served almost 13,000 individuals with Medicare counseling. Now we have 2 full-time staff doing that. So that's a lot of people. But what those numbers break down to is that we counseled 9,230 beneficiaries. That's about 35 people per business day. I think that's pretty amazing. And we could only do that because of our volunteers. And Rebecca will talk about that a little bit more in her report. But this Medicare counseling is a really volunteer focused because we can't reach all the Medicare beneficiaries with the funding we receive. But our volunteers, their hours were equivalent to about 5 full-time staff people, which I think is astounding and amazing. And also what that equates to is we helped 281 beneficiaries in a new Medicare drug plan. That overall savings was over $1.7 million, and that equated to about over $6,000 per individual. And that is huge, especially when you're talking about older adults who are on fixed income. And that $6,000 per person is a huge benefit and a huge savings. And we're still not reaching all of the Medicare beneficiaries. Another highlight is we talked to over 8,500 people through our helpline. So we have a helpline, 615-255-1010, easy number to remember. But anybody can call us for resources or help for older adults, people with disabilities, and we are going to either connect them in-house to services we have or to resources that we know about. Now, sometimes it's a simple phone call. We give them a resource for food, for transportation. Sometimes they are very difficult calls. One of our helpline staff shared with me this week that one of the calls she worked on, she talked to a daughter. This daughter and her sister were caring for their mother, and their mother had dementia. The daughter, the caller, said she had, because of her work schedule, she'd been trying to call her sister over the course of a couple days, couldn't get in touch with her, kept trying. And then once she had time off, she went to her sister's home, found her sister had passed away 8 days prior. The mother with dementia was still living in the home, had no idea because of her cognitive state. So our helpline individual was able to kind of walk her through and start the process to get care for her mother. But what a traumatic event for that daughter, and that she knew about us and could call us, which I'm so thankful for. So not all of our calls, thankfully, are that difficult, but some are. And that our staff can handle the range from the easy 31-minute call to the half hour, 45-minute calls. That's quite a range of care and that they put out every day. Through our home and community-based services, we provided care to over 600 individuals. So that's putting services in like home delivered meals, homemaking, personal care, things so that people can stay at home and independent for as long as possible. Because sometimes just a couple hours of service can prevent nursing home care for years. And we supported over 600 and then another 400 caregivers all through our team of about 12 individuals. And that team, I tell you, I'm always so impressed with our AG team and how caring they are. But some members of that team during the recent ice storm, we had a couple of individuals stand outside in line when it was cold at a Second Harvest food event, pick up several boxes of food to deliver to clients. Because after that storm, so many of our clients and staff were without power. So one of the things we did is we had a list of our clients that were more isolated and started calling each and every one to see how they were doing, see what they needed. And so we had some reports of people that they had no food in the house. One of the boxes delivered, the lady had gone to her daughter's house, thought that was a safe place to ride out the storm. Well, her daughter's home caught fire. So she had to relocate home where she didn't have food. But our service coordinator was able to deliver that. And she was so happy just to get the yogurt out of the box. And another been in the hospital and lost everything, but to be able to come home and somebody deliver her food that she could then have and keep sustaining until meals could get resumed was amazing. And so I'm just really proud of our staff. Through our nutrition partners, we provided over 5,000 individuals with meals, whether that's home delivered or congregate meals. That means that's a meal 5 days a week that they can count on, that they know is going to be nutritious, that they know is going to help them continue. And then through our public guardianship program, we helped over 65 individuals. And our public guardian program, I mean, talk about vulnerable adults. These are some of the more vulnerable adults. They don't have anybody to help them. They aren't cognitively able to make their own decisions. And if they have family, then sometimes that means that family member is exploiting them. One of our members, before she came into our program, her brother was her power of attorney and taking advantage of that and using her finances for what he wanted. So with the help of APS to petition the court on our behalf and get that person into our program, we were then able to put a freeze on her account and get her into a place that was safe and pay for her care, pay for her to be safe, and that her funds would go for her care. And so that's just one of the examples of why the public guardianship program is so important. So again, those are just some of the highlights, but I think it's important for you to know when we put up these numbers, what some of those individual numbers, like that there are people behind those numbers and what that really means. So through our area plan, we are looking at our major update this year, which is a 4-year plan. And so we have updated our goals. Now, sometimes we have to manage our goals within the limitations of our funding, because even though we see a lot of need, that doesn't mean that our funding can meet that need. So we try to manage our goals in a way that we can utilize and possibly move our funding towards what's the next need, like what we can do to make a difference. And so the main goals I'm going to cover are just supporting aging in place. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about like how we plan to meet these goals. But supporting aging in place by prioritizing customer choice, dignity, and independence. Support programs that promote social connectivity, health, and well-being. Again, that social connectivity is so important. If somebody's isolated, the amount their health declines is so radical. So we want to prevent that from happening. Protect the rights of older adults so they can be free from abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Again, I hate that that has to be a goal, but that is a very needed goal, and we are committed to bettering that. Strengthen our caregiver program. According to AARP, nearly 20% of older adults are dependent on someone else in some form or fashion to function. That's a pretty big percentage. And so you think about all the caregivers that take to keep older adults home and independent. And then we want to improve our infrastructure and access to services. Because again, if people don't know about us, they can't access our programs. And if we don't have a good plan and infrastructure in place, then we're not going to be effective in carrying out those goals. So some of the ways we want to meet those goals is we want to look at ways we can expand our in-home services. So, it's easy if we can just keep a plan in place, keep chugging along, keep doing the same thing day out and day in. But I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that we are meeting the needs. So when I talk to our teams and we find out barriers that are in place, like sometimes we can't provide homemaking because of the pest problem a person has in their home. Well, we don't have pest control services, but it is something we can pay for. So we're going to move towards that needle. We want people to stay at their home. Well, what if they can't afford, like they might need a minor home modification in order to do that? Well, we want to provide that program for them. So we're working towards those, because sometimes adding a simple grab bar to a bathroom can make somebody independent to use their shower. So we want to look at those things, some of those barriers that we can meet with our funding and move that needle. Also, cleaning supply boxes. Sometimes a client doesn't want to get homemaking because they can't afford the cleaning supplies, and that's something that they have to provide. So we want to, again, find ways to take down those barriers. And assistive enabling technology. Technology's come so far. We want to use that to keep people independent and home safe. Another thing is nutrition. We don't want to provide nutrition the same way we always have. So we're looking at some pilot programs, how we can work with restaurants, how we can work with some technology, have some social connection with somebody who is homebound, can't get out, but maybe if we can set them up to join a lunch club virtually. So we're looking at all those things and how can we do that? How can we cross over between our services and make them more meaningful? We want to maintain exceptional customer service. Again, people need to know about us. Well, I guess that's outreach. We want our staff to be trained. We want them to be supported. Our leadership here at GNRC does a really good job of supporting the aging program. So I think that's also why our team is so good at what they do, because they know that they have leadership that's going to support them and really is invested in how we serve our clients. But we need to provide training and just make sure that they always feel supported. One of the needs we heard in the community is to be connected to more mental health resources. So we want to make those connections for people. We want to get those services out to our clients and connect them, because again, mental health is also a way to provide some preventative care if we can address those issues. And again, we always want to increase community engagement and visibility. People can't call us if they don't know about us. And I've been out in the community and said, I wish I would have known about you before my mom passed. And I can't hear that. Like, I do hear that. But that drives us to be better. It drives us to continue to reach out and to continue to make those partnerships. So I also kind of want to just talk a little bit about the funding levels. So GNRC, our funding is based on population. So we typically get a bigger share because we are the most populated area. And that ends up typically being around 21%. Some categories, are a little different. 20% for supportive services and 24% for ombudsman and elder abuse. But it's hard because even though our funding might change a little bit because of population, it's been staying mostly the same. So sometimes to continue these services, whether the cost is going up, the needs are going up, it feels daunting, but we do try to do the best with what we get. Thankfully, last year specifically, we got a larger investment from the state governor. This year was pretty much level funding. But one of our bigger needs is the public guardianship. So we only receive about 13% of the state. And part of that is because the state as a whole is underfunded. So when you have to divide a little bit across 9, we're going to get a smaller percentage because those other AAADs need more just to even sustain, like to have a portion of the program. And so we just, in this new year, again, we get a little bit of some increases in some of our areas, and that's mostly based on the population shift. But then we do have some budget decreases, which is our health promotion, health and well-being, elder abuse, and our public guardian. So those are the areas that we tend to struggle. One of the things that we try to do through this process, through our area plan process, is to get feedback. If you are involved in senior centers or in ways that older adults live their lives, I would love for you to give feedback. Part of this plan is we go and we get feedback and we make adjustments. Now, one of your bigger needs might not be something that we can fund, but that would be a way that we would concentrate our partnerships on, and how can we be involved and possibly work with another agency to connect to bring programs. So your feedback is so important to us. So there's a QR code for a survey, and I just would love for you all to participate in it. Because if we don't know what you are hearing as needs, we can't take that into consideration on our planning. And it's important for us that you are involved in this planning process and that you have a way to communicate what your needs, you're seeing, you're hearing are. So we will be having a public hearing, a community-based public hearing. We'll be holding that at the 50 Forward Knowles location, which is near the soccer stadium. So that will be March 19th. Would love for anybody to come. We are also going to try to do a virtual option because some of our region, it's hard to get to Nashville, and we don't want to exclude people from being a part of it. And then we will be posting the full area plan where you will see the goals, all of the strategies, and some of the objectives. Like for that plan, we will be posting it on our website so you can look at it more in depth, because I'm just giving you kind of some highlights from my perspective. But I think it's good if you have time to look at the plan, especially before bed if you have insomnia. So, but that is all I have. So I don't know if anybody has questions or.
Questions, comments for Sarah? Mayor?
Go ahead, Mayor. You're the big mayor.
I've developed a reputation here, Mayor. So, well, Sarah, this is really helpful, and I guess I appreciate the survey. We will certainly share it with some Nashville and Davidson County partners in aging. Welcome guidance you might also have about how to align programs we may already have in place with city agencies and or partners that are aging related with your work and your team's work.
We try to be on as many like coalitions that are out there, and so I'm on some. We've got our outreach coordinator Rachel is on some. I know Peter Westerholm gets involved as well. So we try just to be involved in anything we can whenever we can, because it's important. We don't want to isolate. That's not the purpose of our funding. Our purpose is to be partners and to work in a network, not isolated.
If we have things going on, do you want to have somebody from your team be CC'd on that stuff?
We love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, Sarah, very impressive work that GNRC and you're doing with your department. A couple of things jumped out at me, and one was that second goal. We've heard that we are in a pandemic of loneliness, and you mentioned connectedness, and I'd love to kind of understand what some of those programs may be that you're looking to work with,
Yeah.
particularly on the mental health side.
Yeah, so we do a lot of that through our senior centers, quite honestly, because they have the facility and programming to do that. One of the things we require of our senior centers is telephone reassurance. So if we find isolated individuals when we're in the home, we ask, do you want somebody to call you on a regular basis to check on you? And then we can sign them up for telephone reassurance, because having that connected individual, again, helps to prevent abuse. What we find is, I went through a training with TBI, and people will get on these apps and they'll start chatting online, and they lose thousands of dollars. But if we can get them to a trusted person where they're talking on the phone, we're hoping to combat that. Other ways are, especially if they can't get out of their home, we want to find ways to provide virtual programming if it's possible. Again, sometimes there's a digital literacy barrier. So we've had some digital literacy programs that we've been providing in the counties, working with senior centers and community groups. We want to continue that, but we have to find funding for those programs. So we're continually trying to keep those going, because we feel like that is a way for people to stay connected. While it can make people susceptible to scams, it also can connect them to family members that no longer live close. It also can possibly provide digital or virtual programming, where we have some senior centers across the state that are doing that. They're providing where they do like a falls prevention class, and they can watch it on their device, whether it's their TV, whether it's their computer, and they can participate in those exercises in their own home. Or like I want to look into virtual congregate meals, where you might eat your lunch in front of your screen, but you have a Zoom call with different people and you can have facilitated conversation. So it's hard, because sometimes you don't know about those isolated people, right? Because they're isolated. So you have to find them and you have to connect with them. And sometimes people don't want connection. And that's really hard too, because I think they've gone so long that they're just used to it, or they're embarrassed about the state of their home, the state of what they're able to do. We learned that during COVID, some people didn't like to come down to the congregate meals because they had to take their dentures out, and that was embarrassing. They just wanted to take their meal up to their room. So there's sometimes it's just a little thing, but I'm probably not answering your question very well, but it's such a big need, and we're just trying to find little ways to chip away at that and to make community and connection.
Thank you.
Sure. Mayor Anderson? Mayor Anderson?
Just 2 points that I would encourage your organization to do. One, hook up with our trustees in all of our counties to explain to those homeowners that there are tax relief programs available for them. There are aging restrictions on that with money and income, but many counties have much more than what the state offers to help these people. And we find in our county, we have about 1,600 a year. There's probably 200 or 300 more that we cannot get the information out. And particularly to the deaf and hard of hearing, that those programs are available. The other one through the trustee is actually we're studying it under taxer now, is the fraud and abuse that's occurring. And each most counties across the state have some backstops that will help those people, that they're not signing away their property. And then the third thing that's coming up on our radar through this study is an education program about reverse mortgages. That so many of our elderly get in that situation when, particularly in Davidson County, Williams County, Wilson County, that those values are increasing so much, they've outlived their time and now they have to go someplace else. So those are my observations, what I'm actually seeing.
Thank you.
I just had a question. How much y'all work with the different VAs? Every municipality, county has a different representative. It seems like there's a lot of synergy possibilities between the programs y'all do and what they do. And just didn't know if you had that.
So right now, we work with the VA through a third party, basically. So we work in a program called the Veterans Directed Care Program. We don't hold the contract with the VA. Our partner agency, which is Penny Ryle Development District, they're located in Paducah, Kentucky, but they hold the contract and then they contract us to serve the GNRC area for veterans. So we do limited, but we try to keep open connections, like as far as information, because we do talk to veterans or spouses. And so we always try to make sure that they know about resources that are available for them as a veteran or a spouse, because sometimes that's a lot more than our programs can provide. So it's very important, but we are kind of limited on just basically directing them to get where to get information. But yes.
Other questions? Michael?
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Sarah for her leadership on these issues and just making sure that we're not losing sight of the big picture when we deliver these programs and services to the community. This was an informational item this morning at your April meeting. We'll be asking you to adopt the area plan that would then steward the funds for the next few years out through the year 2030. Our ask really of you today is just to make sure you continue to feed us ideas where there could be opportunities for collaboration or gaps that need to be filled. Even if it's not something that we can do directly, you've got our support in terms of building those bridges to the appropriate organizations, which is really one of the key roles that we play. I did want to acknowledge, Sarah and her team of program managers, the case managers, the counselors that we have on staff, the program support staff are all very essential to what we do every single day. The Aging Advisory Committee that works with us on a more regular basis to formulate our strategy for addressing these needs across the region is headed up by Ed Cole. And he's done a great job of getting more engagement from that committee. I know he works closely with Ashley Obel and our team to make sure that we have rich conversations about the needs that are out there across the region. Also want to give a shout out to our entire network of providers, which are made up of public sector agencies and private sector businesses. The two biggest providers that you'll be aware of are Metro Social Services here in Davidson County and the Mid-Cumberland Human Resource Agency across the entire region. So they're often implementing a lot of the programs that we're funding through the area plan that you will be asked to adopt in April. So Ed, I don't know if you have anything to share today, or maybe you'll have some things to say in April, but I did want to.
I would just like to say to the mayors that you have representatives from your county on the advisory committee, and it's a tremendous committee and they do great work. And so through you, thanks to your folks that participate actively and will be very much involved leading to April. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Sarah, Mayor Moore said it best. It's impressive what you do. So thank you, you and your staff. Now ready for Rebecca Nofi, Manager, Volunteer and Community Engagement. Rebecca.
I'm Rebecca Nofi, Volunteer and Community Engagement Manager here at GNRC, and excited to share the Volunteer Impact Report with you from 2025. You have a flyer at your place as well. We have a pretty impressive group of active volunteers, 1,722 individuals that engage with our work directly through GNRC, and then also, of course, other volunteers who engage with some of the other agencies that post the opportunities on our volunteer portal. So those are not included in those numbers. Those volunteers gave over 18,000 hours of volunteer service. And that is about a value of $629,000 of volunteer work. So pretty impressive. And I like the number on the right there a lot. It's 21,000 people, older adults or disabled individuals, were impacted directly through the volunteer services. So volunteers directly interacted with those individuals. So I feel like that's a good statement to make by those 1,722 people. If you want to read the full report, it's also available on our blog at gnrc.org/volunteer. So feel free to peruse through that. Also interesting to see that we had an increase of total volunteer hours given, so by 10%. So the average volunteer hours that an individual contributed were 22 hours. And we had an impressive 31 volunteers who gave more than 100 hours in 2025. I want to look a little bit closer at the different programs. So visits with older adults is friendly visits to our guardianship program that you heard before, and then also a pilot program that we started this past year, a friendly neighbor pilot, where we pair isolated individuals or people who have additional needs that the traditional programs do not cover with a volunteer. So that could be, helping with reading mail, or just providing some small household assistance, or really spending time with those people, maybe taking them out to the library and doing small activities with the volunteers, with the clients. For that program, I currently have a lot of volunteer interest. So if there are individuals in your communities that you feel could benefit from being paired with a volunteer and having maybe 2 or 3 visits a month by that volunteer, let me know. I'd love to make those connections and talk to those individuals and see if this pilot program might be a good fit for them. Through that program, we had 25 clients who received visits and 63 older or disabled adults who received also items through our angel tree for Christmas items, so mostly clothing or hygiene items. We also collected some gift cards so that clients could purchase food. In total, we had 448 hours that visitors spent making those visits. The letter campaign I've spoken to you all about before is something I started during the COVID pandemic in 2020. And we've continued it on because it's been so meaningful. That's a program where any volunteer can just write letters to visitors in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and we've got a couple, residential facilities for older adults that we're writing those letters to. On average, it's about 2,000 people that receive letters each month. And so far, we've done 127,000 letters over those 5 years. So it's a wonderful opportunity for group volunteers or just individuals who would like to participate. This year, we also did digital literacy classes with Rachel's help. She facilitated a lot of the connections there. We had a partner, Tech Goes Home, that helps us kind of provide the funding and the devices for the residents that want to participate in classes. We had 380 individuals who completed the classes at 22 different partner sites across the region. And we're very happy to see those individuals with their certificates in their hands and being able to use the device, being able to send emails or chat with their friends and family. Sarah mentioned a lot about the Medicare counseling program. We had, these are the numbers just from the volunteers. So our volunteers counseled 7,753 individuals. The average sessions were about 45 minutes long. So volunteers counseled about 31 clients per business day. And also the numbers are always impressive to see, how much money they can save somebody by just making sure that they are finding a plan that actually covers all the prescriptions that those individuals are taking and making kind of the best decision for them. In total, they contributed almost 10,000 hours and reached 10,000 individuals through our community presentations and event booths at different health fairs. And I always think like 120 booths to staff by volunteers, that's a lot of events and evenings and weekends that our volunteers are spending just trying to get the word out there. Also had some really special volunteer recognitions. If you remember throughout the last year, Ray Dawes was honored with the President's Volunteer Service Lifetime Achievement Award during one of these meetings for his efforts in Medicare counseling. And then also Nancy Parker was honored with the Mike Klug 2025 National Outstanding Ship Volunteer Award, which is a national award for people who do Medicare counseling. And she had counseled over 7,000 individuals all on her own through her time with us up to that award. So pretty impressive people that we have, and also nice to see how older adults who are retired are spending time in the community, giving back further. So I think there's a lot of value there. And on the planning and community development side, we support the local arts program through the Arts Build Community Grant Program that we facilitate here for some Middle Tennessee counties. We had 9 volunteers helping us. So those are all individuals who are involved in the arts in the communities directly, and they help reviewing the applications that come into that program and then also scoring them and then making recommendations for, which of the projects should receive funding. And the Arts Commission awarded funding to 34 different projects. And we work with y'all on different projects. The City of Portland's comprehensive plan was a big one, and the Wilson County Master Land Use Plan were 2 projects where we had a wonderful volunteer center helping us take pictures so that everything could be represented well in the publications. So those are the comments from me.
Thank you, Rebecca. Questions, comments? Again, outstanding. Thank you. All right. We have no action items before the board, so let's move right into the chair's report. Mayor Clary, you sent us sent some emails out regarding a little piece of legislation that may be floating around, or is an idea?
Appreciate that. The most important one, I think, to us is the cap on property tax. It's disappointing to me that the same organization that's pushing this talks about how that there are too many state regulations, and they want to regulate us and our residents. There's a couple pieces of legislation out there about this. One that seems like it has the most legs is based on CPI, I think plus 2% with some exceptions in there. The problem is that you and I in our cities don't buy things based on CPI. We're going out for paving contracts and fire trucks and paying our personnel. We're not buying groceries. And so I've let our legislators know our board passed a resolution opposing anything that puts this unnecessary regulation on us and our residents who certainly want services to continue as they are, and many times want more services. And so if we're restricted in terms of how we can raise property taxes, then we're restricted in the way that we can respond to our residents. None of us here have any intention of raising property taxes above what that cap is, but we might get in a situation we need to. And I'll give you a great example. For trash in Hendersonville, it went up 35% in 1 year. So we had the choice of reducing the services or charging a property tax that would have exceeded that. What we did is we reduced services, and we all faced election for that. And that's the way that it should happen. I sent you, I'm pretty sure I think every city, I sent 380 emails. Every city, the resolution that we passed, certainly appreciate if y'all pass a resolution similarly, and let your legislators know that this is an issue. What I didn't put in my email or to the legislators is that they do not impose a similar cap on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that.
Irony is not lost on us. Mayor O'Connell.
Since Mayor Clary has raised it, I will share with folks. I don't know how widely known it is, but Metro Nashville, in our charter, we had an amendment several years ago that actually caps our property taxes with some conditions. We have not, since that's happened, come anywhere near that moment because we've continued to see property values. In fact, last year we established the lowest property tax rate in Metro's history. And our issue that our friends in Williamson County have identified is that we continue to see appreciation of property values. And so I think there may also be a lack of understanding of that dynamic, that we have systematically driven down the rate that Nashville property owners pay, even as we confront this gap. And our most recent property tax rate adjustment specifically took into account the 5-year impact. We were in the 5th year of what was supposed to be a 4-year revenue cycle, the 5-year impact of inflation. And that is exactly how we adjusted it.
And your residents are different than mine. You should have the opportunity to serve your residents as they want to be.
And our residents voluntarily already established via charter a cap that suits Nashvillians.
Thank you for that, Mayor Brown.
I was just going to add to what he and to what you said as well, that I think some of the organizations, they're such promoters of this, don't appreciate the difference in Tennessee's foundation. And so I think that's kind of key number one. And just as he said, our communities are not the same. And where I'm really concerned, because I don't know why they think this is such a problem. I think we have all demonstrated great fiscal restraint. But where it really concerns me is for communities where their ability to increase property taxes is their only asset for borrowing purposes. And somebody made the comment, I think it was with us somewhere yesterday, that a fire engine costs the same thing in Gallatin that it does in a much smaller community. And so what do you do? And we don't have the revenue streams that a lot of these other states have to make up for where their property taxes are ceiling. So that's it.
But one unintended consequence could be an impact on your Standard & Poor or Moody's rating.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Another unintended consequence is that I will go to my board and start talking about raising taxes every year at the CPI, just so we have some fat that we might have to live on. Which is a terrible way to respond to residents.
And for a community, ours is like 27 cents, if I remember correctly, per $100 assessed value. That's nothing. I mean, if you cap it at whatever you're saying, it's still not very much money.
Let me just say, as a small county like Robertson, it'd be devastating to us. Most of our sales tax goes to the schools that we do get. We are a sales tax state and everybody wants rooftops to make sales tax work. But 2% on cap on property tax, hey, just us giving raises in health insurance is 1.5. And so, it'd be devastating on small counties.
Great point. All right. Anything else?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We're working with staff on the board of directors planning meeting in Clarksville at the end of March. So be looking for more information about that. Thank you all for attending today, and I want to recognize Nathan Zipper, the Williamson County business rep. Thank you for being here. Mayor Vogel, any words of pearls of wisdom from Robertson County you want to share?
I was sitting here looking at Mayor Anderson. 22 years at county mayor. They need to put a statue up here. Hey, I don't know about the mustache. They need to have a bronze statue in Williamson County, that man right there. 22 years county mayor. That's unreal. I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
I'll pass the cup around right now.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Vogel. All right. That concludes the chair's report. Mr. Skipper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a few pieces of information to share and then some closing remarks about the two presentations that we just had. But one is At Your Place, which is a promotion for an upcoming event that we're hosting in partnership with the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. The federal government has extended the Opportunity Zones program. There'll be an Opportunity Zones 2.0. The purpose of this meeting is to convene local elected officials, investors in your community, developers in your community, large landowners within your community who might benefit from financial incentives for job creation activity on those sites within your community, to have a conversation about the designation of the new opportunity zones. So thinking about geography and intent with the program across our region. Really important meeting. I hope you can send somebody from your community as a representative to this, but also help us spread the word to the private sector, who ultimately are the implementing arm of the Opportunity Zones initiative. So that's one thing I wanted to share. I believe this might also be on our website, gnrc.org/grants, along with other grant opportunities that our team can help you either write a grant application for or to administer a grant if you are awarded. I do have a couple of upcoming meetings I wanted to point out. Just these are meetings that relate to board members sitting around the room, council members sitting around the room here. I do always encourage you to go to gnrc.org/calendar. We have a long list of roundtables and advisory committees that meet in addition to these policy boards. The next policy board meeting is March 18th, where we are scheduled to adopt a major update to our regional transportation plan, which is the gateway to federal funding, and then by extension, TDOT funding for your road, bridge, transit, walking, and biking projects. That's the big item on the agenda that date. And then this body will convene again on April 15th for the adoption of our area plan that Sarah previewed to you all this morning. I think in closing, I think it is, really moving sometimes to hear Rebecca and Sarah talk about the things that we do. A lot of times when we get together, we're thinking about the future and how do we prepare communities with infrastructure to sort of meet the challenges associated with a rapid pace of growth and development. And GNRC is known for that. I think we're really proud of what we can do with our forecasting ability to help you understand where we're headed so you can make good decisions today to prepare for that. But day to day, GNRC is out in the communities, working directly with individuals who need help. We're working every day with small businesses. I remind you of our small business lending opportunities that are available through GNRC. So if you've got a small business that needs capital for a renovation or an expansion, if they can demonstrate job creation opportunity and they're struggling to get private financing through a traditional bank, we can be a resource for them. So we're just out in your communities every single day addressing the needs of today. So that's in addition to all the work that we do together as we prepare for the future. And then lastly, just under Mayor Moore's leadership, of course, the Middle Tennessee Mayor's Caucus, which is staffed by GNRC and our consulting firms, Stones River Group, is on the ready to help you assess the impact of any legislation that might be filed in the Tennessee General Assembly, and then just make sure that we're educating our members about those impacts before any final decisions are made about those bills. So if you've got any additional bills that you want us to assess impacts for, put on the radar of Mayor Moore and the Mayor's Caucus, shoot those my way. So I think with that, Mr. Chair, I'll conclude my report.
Okay, questions for Michael? Thank you. Any other business to come before the board? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you again for being here.
Leave your napkins on the table, please. And barely. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I think. Got another one?
Oh, once again,
Yeah.
Except I think Michelle's going up Friday.
Email about it. I just.
I'm gonna try to.
All good. That back down, how you doing, buddy?
One thing on is I sent a memo.
You don't tell me these things I don't know.
Now,
Oh, I know.
to integrate that. I think.
I'm hoping to hear they say that,
I'm gonna talk about.
You got a big job.
that would be nice.
You cut over Saturday, right?
Internet and stuff being down for a while.
And then
In some areas that were out for a week.
I was like, whatever, meeting maybe. So it's really, it's right. We need.
Somebody will take your. So
I'm the worst, and I saw your email, and I meant to text message you back, and then I forgot, and then I just saw you, and I was like, that would
I had a
hurt
change
me.
date.
I actually don't have, I don't. Oh, okay, good, I was gonna ask.
You're reading.
I'm so sorry.
Hi, you're downtown. So be your thing. No.
Yeah, actually have a great. Have a great.
I'll send.
Like I just don't do my thing here, but I don't.